you doing? It's your boy BrogiNaric back again with another episode of BrogiNaric on Films. And in this video, I'm going to be giving my review of The Five Bloods, the new Spike Lee joint that is available on Netflix right now. It dropped a day ago on Friday, and I kind of forgot it was dropping so soon. But yeah, I was excited for this when I didn't know it was I didn't know it was in production. I saw the trailer probably about a month ago, and it was like Spike Lee, it's Vietnam, some old dudes in the jungles, doing a heist. I'm like, I'm in. I'll check it out. But I was not expecting, nor was I prepared for this to be a great movie. Like, this movie is really good and really relevant, especially as what the past month has been about, or how the past month has gone on in the world. This is a very timely, very relevant movie, just like his previous film, BlacKkKlansman, was when that came out, 2 years ago? Phenomenal. That's great. I was not expecting how awesome this movie was. If you're hearing people saying this is his best movie, I'm not going to say it's his best, but it's definitely my second favorite of his movies. But if you say it's his best, I'm not going to be mad at you for saying that. This is a damn good movie, just from beginning to end. Story structure, acting, the visuals, great stuff. Like, Netflix is not playing around with. They're trying to get into the Hollywood. They're trying to be taken seriously as a Oscar big Hollywood contender with their original films, and stuff like this is definitely going to keep pushing that envelope. So the movie The Five Bloods focuses on these 4 Vietnam veterans who go back to Vietnam as on a mission to find the remains of their field leader, Stormin' Norman, who was played by Chadwick Boseman. And Stormin' Norman is like their leader. He was like their, as they say in the film, he was their Malcolm X and their Martin Luther King. He was the brother who was, he educated these guys about, their history. He taught them how to survive, how to, live, and he gave them structure. And there was a moment he ends up dying in the war, so they're coming back years later to find his remains, bring him back to America so he can get his proper burial. But also, there was some gold that they had found. They went on a mission, they found some gold, and they wanted to take it back with them, but they couldn't, so they buried it, and now they're coming back also to get that gold. And that leads into some crazy hijinks, very heisty type of things. This movie is like a heist film, but it's also a war film. But it's also a very, it's an educational film. He does this thing like he did in BlacKkKlansman, where at different moments in the movie, actual historical footage will pop up and kind of just, this movie literally just throughout the film at times is taking moments to just give you a history lesson about Black history or Vietnam in general. The film is rated R. It gets gruesome. I mean, the opening sequences shows actual war footage from Vietnam. It's pretty messed up. And then there's some other stuff that happened that is pretty brutal. Nothing too gratuitous, but it is a serious film. But it's also funny. And it's about, not just about these guys trying to get this gold, but it's also about veterans and soldiers dealing with PTSD. Well, especially Black soldiers dealing with PTSD, but also dealing with the fact we're fighting for our country, but our country don't respect us, and we can't even get the rights that we're going to another country to help get them their rights, but we don't have our rights, stuff like that. This film is very similar to previous Spike Lee films, like America at Santa Ana, if you ever seen that, where it was World War II soldiers, Black soldiers fighting in Italy. They're trying to steal some high-value thing and trying to get it out or sneak it out, help them out. It's somewhat like that. You take that across of Get on the Bus, another Spike Lee movie, and a little bit of Dead Presidents as well, and then a sort of a Rambo film. It's kind of all 4 of those kind of mixed together, and you get the Five Bloods. It's great. So, to talk about the cast, we have Norm Lewis, who is one of the Five Bloods. He plays Eddie. He's mainly a Broadway actor. He was in Les Mis. He's very good in this film. He's the rich one. He's the one who's been the most successful since they went into the military. There is Otis, played by Clark Peters, who is sort of the main leader of this group. He's like the he's the one who's got all the paperwork and set everything up, and he's also has some other business to take care of in Vietnam that revolves around some stuff he did when he, him being a younger guy, he has to investigate on. And this actor is great. He was in The Wire, which I haven't seen The Wire, but he was also on Jessica Jones season 1. That's where I recognize him from. He played like the black sort of Commissioner Gordon type character in that series, and he's really good in this. There is Isaiah Whitlock Jr., who you may mainly remember from The Wire. Once again, haven't seen The Wire, but you know the meme of the guy going, shit. He's in this, and he's great, and he does say that in this movie at a pretty funny moment. He's like the most comical out of the group. And it's an ensemble cast, but I guess the main character would be that of Paul, played by Delroy Lindo, who has been in numerous Spike Lee films. He was in Malcolm X, he was Dad in Crooklyn, and he's been in a bunch of other stuff. And him in this movie is amazing. Like, if he doesn't get an Oscar nomination and wins, insanity. He's insane. He plays Paul. Him and Norman, Chadwick Boseman character, they were the tightest of the two. And Norman's death hit him the hardest, and he's struggling. They all have PTSD, but he's literally haunted by the death of Storm and Norman, and he's the most radical of the group. He's easily agitated. He's got a different viewpoint from the others, specifically politically, which plays into a lot of funny moments about his feelings about the world and politics. There's a certain, I don't even want to spoil it, but it's kind of there's a certain clothing item he likes to wear, which is pretty interesting. And he has this rough time living. He feels like he's been done wrong his entire life, and him finding his friend's body and then getting this gold is going to make up for all of that. And the thing about the gold is, well, with Storm and Norman, he's like, we should use this for the betterment of our people, but time has changed. Everyone's kind of have that different. There's a little bit of conflict between the group of what they should do with the gold. There's conflict with any heist. There's conflict of like, well, how do we get it out of the country? With certain people you have to pay off. So while Paul is dealing with his troubles, and there are great moments throughout the film where there's a lot of first-person shots of a person directly talking to the camera while things are going on, and it's very interesting how Spike Lee films this, and it shows the psyche of specifically Paul. He also has an extra layer of the fact that his son David has kind of snuck aboard on this trip, and David was played by Jonathan Majors, who is a newer actor. This is my first time seeing him. He was in most recently The Last Black Man in San Francisco, and he is Paul's son, and they have a horrible relationship and they do explain a lot of the reasons for why there's tension. Because at first, when he first popped up, I didn't like David, but like as we get to know, because he wants to come in, but he's like, hey, if I'm going to help, I want half of the gold. Like, I want my share too. And I'm kind of like, but then when you realize the relationship, I don't really know. Like, he's gone through some things with Paul, so it's like, okay, maybe he's not a bad guy. Paul is the asshole. And he is. Paul is just the worst. But he's a great character. He's a very, everyone has their hang-ups, and Paul is like crazy. But David, he's a teacher. He's trying to use this as a way to protect this, look out for his dad, but also to potentially get some help for his dad, because the others don't really know how messed up Paul is. We also have Vin Tran, played by Johnny Nguyen, who is their Vietnamese tour guide, and he's the one who's taking them on a vacation. Because it's not just a mission. They are on vacation. There are moments with them hanging out, drinking, partying, but also reminiscing about how things have changed. And there's great moments of brotherhood of the guys, like, kind of reconnecting. And it's very emotional, very heartfelt stuff. There was some times where I thought I was about to tear up. It was really good. Like, it's really, really tender moments mixed in with the serious moments and the in-your-face, like, this is, like, the world is a fucked up place for black people. Look at this type of thing. There's also the characters of Hetty, played by Melanie Terry. There's Simon, played by Paul Walter Hauser, who's also in Black Klansman, and Seppo, played by Jasper Pakun, who's also in Black Klansman. And their roles, they're basically playing good white folks, and they're kind of using their white guilt to kind of help make Vietnam, or the world, but specifically right now, Vietnam a better place. They work on this group where they try to defuse mines, and that plays a big role in the film, and they kind of get drugged into this whole weird heist thing in a very interesting way, and it becomes a sort of a survival film, not necessarily horror, but like thriller as well. And then we do have some sort of bad guys. Like there's one bad guy, and then there's like antagonists. You have DeRoche, played by Jean Reno. Jean Reno, who you've seen in a lot of various films playing shady characters. He's a shady French guy. He's the money man who's there to help them out, to help get the gold out of there, but like they don't know whether they can trust him or not, and you can kind of guess which way he leans. And he's kind of the most bad guy. The main villain in the film is just white supremacy in general, how, you know, black people have just been fucked over. The Viet Cong, we've been fucked over by various elements in the world, but like, and there's like antagonists. They're not necessarily evil. You got the main guy, Quan, he's not necessarily bad because he's justified for his reasons for wanting the gold, and the Five Bloods are justified in their reasons for wanting the gold. And it's very two different sides depending on what side you fall on. You're not necessarily right or wrong technically, but like it's a struggle, you know. Very interesting how that was handled. And the film as a whole is just great. The soundtrack is great. You get a lot of Marvin Gaye music. Like I said, there's a lot of historical footage. There's a lot of fourth wall breaking moments where it's just like, bam, just gonna stop right here and talk about some history right here. And if you're a fan of Donald Trump, you might not like this movie because Spike Lee does take moments, just like he did in Black Klansman, where the movie just stops to be like, bam, it's gonna get a good jab at Donald Trump. So if you don't like people talking mess about Trump, you might not gonna like this movie. Although, like I said, there is a character that you might like because he is a Trump supporter. So, you know, it's a balance. I would say there is balance, more balance than you might see most of the time. But yet, great film. Like, as I said, I would say this is my second favorite Spike Lee movie. My favorite is still Malcolm X, but damn it, this movie is a close second. It is amazing. How the story is told, the pacing, the acting is great. Definitely check it out on Netflix. You don't have to leave home. You can watch it whenever you can, watch it in pieces. But it is a great movie, and it should get a nomination. If they do an Oscars, it should be awarded Best Picture. As far as I'm concerned, this is the best film I've seen all year. And if you want my grade for The Five Bloods, my grade would be an A+ or a 10 out of 10. Just phenomenal. From, like I said, from beginning to end. It's great. Once again, Spike Lee doing the thing where he's got his old actors he's worked with before, giving them some shine, with Delroy Lindo, who, like I said, amazing. This is probably the best role he's had in his career, and it's just great. And then also you got newer guys coming in like Jonathan Lindo and the lady, and then like his other people he's worked with before. So it's tight knit. Some of the negatives I could see for this film are very minor, but it's a modern day action movie and it's on a limited budget, so they do have like the CGI blood, which can be not bad, but I prefer the blood squibs, but you know, it saves money. If you're like, oh, it's such a positive black movie, but there are no major black female characters in this, but that's just the narrative. It's about black GIs fighting in Vietnam. There were no female GIs in Vietnam, but there is at least one black woman who is an actual character, but she's a minor character. So if you like, oh, how could it be so great if there's no strong black female? Like, that's just the nature of the story. So if you want to dig in on that, you could. I'm not necessarily going to hold it against it because the story as a whole is great. And another thing I didn't really talk about, Chadwick Boseman in this film is awesome. He really is. Like, I know a lot of people were like petting him on a pedestal after Black Panther, but like after this film, I feel like Spike Lee really, the way he handles his character of Storm and Norman, he's like a Black Jesus in this film. Like he's Spike Lee is giving this man legitimate icon status, and he lives up to it. It's pretty awesome. Like seeing this film, I'm like, you know what, I really do like Chadwick Boseman as an actor, and this film just is another example of like how awesome he is. Like he feels like he's on like Denzel level. The way Spike Lee handles him in this film, his character is like, because he is like almost like a mythical, like the ultimate black superhero. He's like a black ass Batman, if you will, and he can fly underwater, so he's badass. But this is great stuff. Check this film out. It's definitely worth your time. Another way to check out, you know, like I said, very modern. So if you're not feeling so happy about how the world is right now, this movie's probably not going to make you feel any better. But if you're on a certain negative side towards it, but it's an uplifting film. It's a good just adventure thriller action film, but it's also educational and very in your face and relevant about certain things. So yeah, those are all my thoughts, my non-spoiler thoughts. I'm not even going to bother with a spoiler review. But there are some great things that happen and some little twists or whatever that happen, story elements that really keeps you entertained. And that's all I have to say about The Five Bloods, which is on Netflix. Go check it out. It's worth your time. That's all I have to say for this video. So if you like this, don't forget this video a like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Also want to say thanks for the recent subscribers. The channel is growing, still building, but we're on a good trajectory right now. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos. Peace.
Finish this thought. I am a slave to
the booty.